Hi, it's Paul Andersen. I took a trip to Ecuador with 2 other teachers and 21 students this summer. Took a bunch of pictures and a few videos, and I wanted to share those with you. I also have an announcement for teachers at the end if you want to hang around. And so Ecuador is in South America. It's right on the equator. That's where its name comes from. And so to get there, we flew to Chicago, then to Houston, and then finally into Quito, Ecuador. The reason we choose Ecuador is that you can hit 3 really amazing areas related to biodiversity. Number 1 would be the Amazon rainforest. We start there. We also visit the Andean cloud forest, and then we get to visit the Galapagos. And so Ecuador is a wonderful country. The people are amazing, but also the wildlife that you get to see is pretty astonishing. And so we start in the Amazon rainforest. We go down the Napo River, which eventually leads down into the Amazon River. And the one thing that hits you when you get off of the canoe and you get into the jungle is just plants. There are plants everywhere. And it's actually a little darker than you might think, and that's because so much of that light is just being shaded by the trees above. And as you look up, all you see is plants. And there are plants climbing other plants, and plants stopping plants from climbing them. And there's all these different leaf structures so they can get as much light as they possibly can. But they also have to deal with a lot of water. And so plants is the major thing that you see. And if you get up in the canopy, then you really start to see the life. You get to see all of the birds, you get to see monkeys. I've seen sloth from the top of this as well. And so there's so much biodiversity in the Amazon rainforest. The place we stay, there's about 5,000 acres that make up this preserve. And they've seen, I think, something like almost 600 bird species just from that area. And so that's going to almost be as many as you would find in Great Britain. So it's pretty astonishing biodiversity. There's also so much regrowth. And so this year we were walking down this trail and you could see where a tree had fallen. It's very light all of a sudden. So I asked the guy, how long ago was it this fell? And he thought it was about 4 months ago, which is just astonishing. So much life. And so life just kind of rushing to fill that space. I took this picture just yesterday when my wife and I were hiking. These are trees that have fallen in Montana months, years, maybe 4 years ago, and you don't see any of that growth that you're going to see in the Amazon. So it's just rapid growth, so much light, so much water. But sometimes you'll happen to areas like this where there's no plants at all. And so this puzzled me the first time we visited it. And this is a leafcutter ant colony. And so there's a massive leafcutter ant colony under here. What they do is they'll bring back leaves and then they feed it to a fungus. And so they're really farmers. And they cut a huge amount of swath through this rainforest. I took this video of them entering into their hole with the leaves. And so you can kind of see 2 things. You can see them coming in to bringing the leaves back into the colony, but you can also see going out for more. Another thing that our guide pointed out was this. So if you go back here, you'll notice that there are going to be actually little ants that will ride the leaf. And so there's going to be one right here. And so what they're doing is inspecting the leaf as it comes back, and those that don't really make the cut are going to get thrown off or discarded over on the side. They also have these soldier ants, and so we were stomping around, and all of a sudden these big soldiers come out to try to defend it. And so it's really, really cool. And so there are going to be insects everywhere in the Amazon. And as you start to look around and you start to listen, you hear the jungle kind of come alive. And I took that video during the day, and as it becomes nighttime, it's just a cacophony of sounds is the best way kind of to describe it. I took a wonderful picture this year. I got really, really lucky. We visited a parrot lick, and so this is where Amazon parrots are coming they'll eat the clay, and then it helps them to detoxify some of the chemicals that are in their diet. And so as we pulled up, we saw these beautiful parrots, but our guide also pointed out this, and so there's a predator here waiting. Let me zoom in a little bit. And so there is a red-tailed boa constrictor waiting for one of the parrots to land on his limb. And so I was snapping some photos, and I happened to grab this one of a parrot almost getting eaten by a boa constrictor. It survived, it didn't die, but I was happy with my little National Geographic type picture. One of the other places we visit is the Andean cloud forest, and so we go way up into the Andes. I think we were at about 12 or 13,000 feet where we were hiking this year. And so the one thing that dominates an Andean cloud forest is going to be a decrease in size of the plants. And so they're not reaching up for the light. There's not going to be a lot of light a lot of the time. And so you're going to have lower plants, but you're going to see lush vegetation, huge amount of biodiversity here as well. So they're constantly getting moisture just from the clouds. And then you're going to see epiphytes everywhere. Those are going to be plants that are living on other plants. And I just love the cloud forests. It's not so hot and humid. Spent just a couple days there, but we hope to spend more next time we go. And then finally, we get to go to the Galapagos Islands. Galapagos Islands are situated just in the perfect spot. And what I mean by that is it's about 600 miles from Ecuador. And what that does is it puts it far enough away from the mainland so you don't get gene flow, but close enough so you can actually get some species landing there. Tortoises would be an example of that. It's also is kind of situated in an area where we have currents coming together. We have the warm Panama current, we have this colder Humboldt current, and then you have this deep Cromwell current that's going to bring a lot of these deep kind of sea creatures to this area. And so you have this wonderful coming together of these currents, also huge amount of light, but what dominates any kind of an island if you've been there is going to be where the general wind is coming from. And so this is a great NASA picture. What we have here is the wind is blowing from this direction, and you're going to have a volcano here, you're going to have a volcano here, you're going to have a volcano here. These are formed in the same way as the Hawaiian Islands. And so what happens is you can even see the clouds on this side. So there are going to be clouds on this side, and then there's going to be a rain shadow on the other side. And so you're going to have areas like where we land on Santa Cruz, it's a desert on this side, but as you climb up over in the mountain, it's going to become really, really lush. And so this would be an example of that. On the Big Island, this is Sierra Negra. It's an active volcano. And so as you hike up to it, you can see the clouds on one side. And so I took this picture of kind of ferns, real lush vegetation. And then I walked literally 5 minutes later, and it's almost like the edge of it's like Mars. There's no vegetation at all. It's this desert. And so it's really, you can see these nice little microcosms of life. And we got to see so much life on the Galapagos, and they really don't show much fear. A lot of them don't show fear of humans, so you can go right up to them. This is a Galapagos tortoise on Santa Cruz. They're massive in size. And then if you compare that to, I didn't take this picture, but this is Lonesome George, who was the last of his kind, is a saddleback tortoise. And so you can see his tortoise has more of a saddleback shape versus a dome shape, and that depends on the islands they showed up on. In other words, they're going to form different subspecies based on the vegetation and the availability of vegetation that you're going to find on those areas. And so what they're trying to do, if you go to the Charles Darwin Research Station, is they're trying to find tortoises that are endangered, help to breed them, bring them back to their islands, and so their populations are coming back. And these are little baby tortoises. If I ever wanted to grab something, just put it in my bag. This is it. Tiny, I think these are like 5-year-old tortoises kind of growing up. You also see blue-footed boobies. These things looked awkward on land, but when you see them in the air, they're just elegant. And they'll crash into the water, create a bubble net, and then come up and catch the fish. And so it's just an amazing flyer. I caught this picture behind my hotel room. There's a heron eating a little marine iguana. Sea lions are everywhere, and you get a snorkel. I don't have a lot of pictures underwater, but the snorkeling is just amazing. Scuba diving must be incredible. You can see sharks. One time this year, I was snorkeling over about 50 sharks, almost at hand's length. And so it's really crazy. But sea lions are great. Marine iguanas. We went snorkeling out here at Kicker Rock, which is just gorgeous. And so it's an amazing trip. We take about a little over 2 weeks. And so I hope you enjoyed those pictures. We've been going here for years and brought, kids after kids, and it's been an amazing group. But the one thing we were talking about is that we really can't get enough kids to go every summer, so we alternate every summer. And so what we were thinking about in 2014 is trying to organize, and what I mean by we is Scott Taylor and myself. Let me see where Scott is. Scott's right here, and he teaches anatomy up at the university here. So we've been doing this trip together forever. And what we're thinking about in 2014, it'd be fun to do a teacher tour. And so in other words, get a bunch of biology teachers, take them on the same tour. We'd be able to see all the things I showed you during the day, and then at night we could talk about being biology teachers. We talk about pedagogy. I think it'd be great professional development, a great way to meet each other. And so if you're interested in this at all, we kind of have to get it organized by this fall. And so send me an email. If you're a teacher, a biology teacher, and would like to go along on this trip, send me an email. You can find me down here at bozemanscience.com. We'll try to organize something. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I think it would be a great trip. I can't suggest it enough, and you'd get to meet me, and you get to go along with me and Scott. And so I think it'd be fun. And so send me an email if you're interested, and thanks for watching, and I hope that was helpful.